In Maplewood, Vermont, fall arrives like a friendly breakup, colorful, slightly chilly, and full of reminders that everything ends, but it's okay because pumpkin spice exists. And right there, in a modest 2-story house with peeling white paint and the confidence of a man who once watched a YouTube gardening tutorial, Elliot Parker stood over a dying plant. Again. It's Saturday morning. Maplewood hums with that small-town rhythm, a mix of leaf blowers, coffee cups clinking, and the low, comforting sound of someone 2 streets over arguing about recycling bins. Elliot's yard is exactly what you'd expect from a man who wants to care about plants but mostly forgets they're alive. 2 overambitious flower beds, a grill with emotional baggage, and 1 sagging lawn chair that's been there since Obama's first term. The weather, idealized suburban cinematic perfection. 58 degrees, sun angled just right to make the dead leaves shimmer like nature's confetti. Inside, Elliot's kitchen smells like burnt toast and mild regret. His daughter, Sophie, 11, munches cereal and gives him that tween stare that silently says, "Dad, no one kills plants that fast." "Sophie, you overwatered it again, didn't you?" Elliot trying to sound scientific. "Technically, it was hydration optimization." "Sophie, technically, it's drowning." "Ah yes, nothing like a Saturday morning ego check from an 11-year-old life coach." Elliot stares down at the drooping monstera, leaves limp like old lettuce, stem bent in a pose that screams, "Just let me go." He sighs. This was supposed to be his redemption plant. The one he'd keep alive after murdering the cactus, the spider plant, and that basil that didn't even make it through one pasta night. But here it was, slumped, brown, tragic. Another reminder that nature doesn't always reward effort, especially when effort involves forgetting sunlight for 3 weeks. In a town like Maplewood, people take their plants seriously. There are book clubs, bake sales, and an annual Best Porch Planter contest that once led to a scandal involving artificial begonias. Elliot Parker wasn't trying to win contests. He just wanted something green in his life that didn't text him for lunch money. He picks up the pot, looks out the kitchen window toward his neighbor's pristine lawn. Nancy Weller, age 62, retired teacher, stands proudly beside a lineup of perfectly healthy ferns. She's pruning them while wearing a sun hat that could double as a Wi-Fi satellite. She waves cheerfully. Elliot waves back, pot in hand, plant drooping over the rim like it's faking a fainting scene. Nancy tilts her head in pity. The kind of pity that says, he tries, bless his horticulturally doomed heart. Cut to Elliot outside, digging a tiny grave in the yard with a kitchen spoon because he can't find the trowel. Sophie films him with her phone. "Sophie, you're making a plant funeral TikTok, aren't you?" Elliot, "No, I'm making a memory." Sophie, "Of failure." Every generation has its rites of passage. For Elliot, it was this. The quiet acceptance that he was not, nor would he ever be, the plant whisperer. He buries the monstera, pats the dirt like he's comforting it, and stands up dramatically. Cue the neighbor's golden retriever, Milo, trotting over and promptly digging it back up. Elliot, "Milo, no, that's disrespectful." And just like that, the circle of life got shorter than expected. Later that afternoon, Elliot wanders into Maplewood Garden Center, the kind of place that smells like soil, lavender, and old people wisdom. Behind the counter, Ruth, 70s, floral print vest, sharper than pruning shears. She recognizes him immediately, the man who's bought 5 plants and returned 6. "Ruth, back again, Mr. Parker." "Let me guess, another plant moved on." Elliot, "Yeah, complications during photosynthesis." Ruth dryly, "Happens to the best of them. Or the worst of you." Elliot laughs because he deserves that one. He wanders through aisles of vibrant life, fiddle leaves, ferns, succulents, all mocking him quietly. Then his eyes land on a small tag. "Plant it once. Forget it twice. Still thrives." The plant, snake plant, indestructible. And there it was, the underdog of the plant world. Low maintenance, impossible to kill, basically the perfect metaphor for midlife hope. He buys it, along with soil that promises premium drainage, whatever that means. Back home, the neighborhood hums with weekend energy, kids biking, dads washing cars to Coldplay, and somewhere, someone grilling as if smoke signals counted as therapy. Elliot plants his new green friend beside the grave of the fallen monstera. Sophie watches with mild skepticism. "Sophie, you know it's weird planting a new one right next to the dead one." Elliot, "It's symbolic. Renewal, growth. Also, I'm too lazy to dig another hole." Sophie, deep. "Sometimes you don't need a clean slate. You just need a new sprout beside the old roots." He waters it, once, carefully, then sets the pot on the porch railing. The golden light hits it just right, and for a second, everything feels cinematic, like the universe hit pause on sarcasm. Then a gust of wind blows the pot over. Soil everywhere. Elliot, okay, that's fair. Sophie can't stop laughing. Nancy next door pretends not to notice but is clearly taking photos for the Hoa records. Some people get signs from the universe. Elliot got slapstick lessons from Mother Nature. That night, Elliot sits on the porch, nursing a mug of lukewarm coffee. The air smells like pine, smoke, and humility. He stares at the now slightly repotted plant. It's still upright, still green, against all odds. He grins. Maybe this time, he'll do better. He doesn't need perfection, just proof that growth is possible, even if it's messy. Sometimes, things don't die to end a story. They die to start a better one. Maplewood sky glowing orange-pink. Somewhere, a lawnmower revs in slow motion, adding accidental poetry to suburban chaos. By mid-afternoon, the Vermont sky had traded its morning melancholy for a soft, honey-colored calm. The storm that had pummeled Elliot's spirits, and his potted plants, had finally rolled away, leaving behind the smell of damp soil and second chances. The lawns along Cedar Avenue glistened with rainwater. Porch flags swayed lazily. Somewhere, a neighbor's lawnmower sputtered to life, a sound that in this small town meant the day is moving on, whether you like it or not. Elliot Parker stood at the edge of his porch, coffee mug in one hand, spade in the other, eyeing the spot where his monstera had perished, a shallow crater of wilted stems and judgmental leaves. His daughter, Sophie, sat on the porch steps, cross-legged, half distracted by her phone. The air was comfortably cool, the kind that made jeans and a t-shirt feel just right. Every small-town hero needs a comeback. Some fix cars, some win bake-offs, and some just try to keep a plant alive. Dad, Sophie said without looking up, are you sure you're ready for this again? The last one didn't just die, it gave up. Elliot exhaled, squatting beside the crater like a man about to defuse a bomb. We learn by failure, Soph. That's science. And YouTube. His neighbor Nancy Weller appeared over the fence again, sun hat, gardening gloves, and the same disapproving expression she used for both dandelions and Elliot's decision-making. Elliot, dear, she said, you might want to start with something hardy. Like a cactus. Or plastic. Elliot smirked. No faith in me, huh? Nancy tilted her head. Faith? Oh, I have faith. I just don't have evidence. Behind her, the golden retriever Milo appeared, sniffing around the fence with his muddy paws. Sophie laughed. Even Milo thinks this is a bad idea. But the weather had turned encouragingly poetic, clouds like watercolor brushstrokes, the air smelling faintly of lilac and wet mulch. The street shimmered with the kind of cinematic hope that only small towns and Hallmark reruns seem to summon. Elliot crouched and dug his hands into the soil, damp and rich. It was colder than he expected, grounding, almost forgiving. Growth doesn't start with perfection. It starts with dirt. Sometimes literal, sometimes emotional, but always dirt. He tore open a small brown seed packet labeled zinnias, easy to grow, in optimistic script. A tiny puff of seed dust floated out. Okay, gang, he muttered to the invisible plant spirits, let's try this again. The first handful of soil went down clumsily. The second splattered his jeans. Milo barked once in moral support, or confusion. Sophie, suppressing laughter, switched her phone to video mode. You're going viral again, Dad. Elliot ignored her, carefully setting the seed down like a sacred relic. He covered it with a touch too much soil, then patted it awkwardly, as though apologizing. There, a fresh start. Symbolic, hopeful, maybe slightly crooked. Nancy leaned on the fence. You know, you'd be better off with artificial turf. At least that doesn't rot. Where's the fun in that? Elliot said, standing. His jeans were caked with mud, his shirt splattered, his dignity questionable, but his grin wide. Besides, this is how you show life you're not quitting. That's the thing about humans, they think planting something fixes the past. It doesn't, but it does make tomorrow look a little greener. As the sun dipped lower, warm light spilled across the neighborhood. Sophie handed her dad the garden hose. He accidentally sprayed his own sneakers, then Sophie, then himself again. Laughter erupted, echoing down the block. Even Nancy chuckled, shaking her head. Fine, she said, if that plant survives, I'll make you one of my pies. Elliot raised a muddy hand like a knight accepting a quest. Deal. Hours later, after showers and dinner, The Parker porch lights glowed softly. The soil in the pot gleamed under the lamplight. Sophie peeked outside before bed. "Dad," she said, yawning. "What if it doesn't grow?" Elliot looked out the window, the night air filled with crickets and the faint hum of a neighbor's sprinkler. "Then we plant again," he said. "That's the secret of growth. Keep planting, even when you're tired. Keep trying, even when it's funny. Especially when it's funny." By morning, Maplewood woke to a clear, blue sky, the kind that makes you believe every setback has a reason. The neighborhood looked brighter, the air smelled fresher, and Elliot's new seed, though invisible beneath the soil, felt like a promise waiting to happen. Fade out to sunlight glinting on the damp porch railing, the sound of Sophie's laughter, and the quiet rustle of hope taking root.
Like and subscribe if you want to be happy and motivate.